one thing that a lot of brands or individuals who have, their companies that want to launch into this market, as you alluded to, cultural context is important. So even your brand and your messaging should speak to those cultural nuances. Otherwise, you'll be speaking a different language than your target market. So something that is an amazing idea in the US as a brand name might actually be quite offensive in the local language and dialect. And even when you're getting ready to go to market, do your experiential in a language and in a way that resonates with your core audience.
Understanding how to get people's attention in the world where everybody's on their phone and they're overstimulated in some way. A way to brand you and get people to pay attention and identify your brand properly so that you can grow it, whether it be a service or a product. Welcome to Life by Design with Tim Booker, where you can live well, you can own your future, and you can cultivate your legacy. Welcome to Life by Design with Tim Booker. I'm here in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm excited today I have a special guest, Nathan. Welcome. I want to frame this conversation today around a couple things. So for those of you who know me, I'm Tim Booker. I run a company called MindFinders based out of the US. We have multiple vertical divisions. One of them is the MindFind AI or tech division. This is around business strategy and business solutions. And we're here in Nairobi, Kenya to offer those services. In my brief time, I met Nathan. Nathan and I have discovered through our engagement here in the local market, through Villa Kali, through the Nairobi Accelerator, that there is a pressing need that we have partnered together to address. Nathan is leading our branding and storytelling division as our creative director here in Nairobi to really address a need that companies are struggling with. And so I want to introduce Nathan and say welcome. Nathan's not only considered just a business partner, but a friend. From day one here in Kenya, man, Nathan almost put his arms around me and welcomed me into the community. Man, we shared stories and laughter. I think coffee, the first time we were in Sarah Center.
Yes.
I think we sat down, man, we spoke for hours, man, and shared stories and cross sections and laughed. And it was commonality of vision and purpose from our initial meeting.
Yes.
So now, Nathan, welcome, man.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Tim.
Welcome. So Nathan, man, just for the audience, could you introduce yourself? Tell them a little bit about your background. Maybe you want to start about your background in the States, Kenya. You have so much to share.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me again.
Sure.
As Tim said, my name is Nathan Gigi. As I normally tell people, I am Kenyan-born, American forged, meaning that I was born here in Nairobi, Kenya, in an area called Eastlando. I'm an Eastlands guy. More specifically, Uhuru Estate, which I don't even know if it still exists there now, but this was many, many moons ago. Left Kenya at the age of 5. My father went to pursue his advanced degrees at UC Berkeley, so I ended up living in San Francisco Bay Area. Ended up going to UCLA in Los Angeles for college, where I was a mass communications major. But after college, I actually ended up in pharmaceutical sales.
Okay.
Yeah, so I worked for a Fortune 50 company called Eli Lilly and Company, sold medicine, more specifically Prozac, which a lot of people know, and another drug. I was part of the launch team for Actos, which was for type 2 diabetes. So I have been involved in a market product launch for a Fortune 50 company globally. Was one of the top reps, but left that to pursue other business interests. And fast forward now to coming back to Kenya, I've been leaning more into my creative side. So I've been functioning as a marketing consultant, helping brands with their storytelling, and I have a specific skill set also in photography and film directing.
Mm-hmm. So Nathan, tell me about the kind of companies you've helped with branding here in Kenya.
Well, I often consult for individual clients. Let's take a brand that's just recently launched with some identity that we help them with. You can look them up. It's Better Living by Bidanya Barasa. It's a health and wellness brand. I think she's doing functional nutrition supplements So we partnered with her. I've known her for quite some time. Did brand identity, came up with the name of the brand. And people sometimes don't understand the importance of brand identity. A lot of us have business ideas that we want to launch, but we don't know where the first place is to start. And so we had a consultation with her. I work with a world-class team of identity builders, a gentleman named Bobby Gassi, who's an award-winning art director globally. He used to work in New York. Sat down with her, came up with the name, came up with the strategy. It took a while for it to come to market, but that's something that we're very proud of and has been recently launched into the market.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's powerful. So one of the things I'm excited about, Nathan, is we've partnered to really provide a holistic solution to businesses that are struggling or need additional direction and creative ideas to brand their product properly and expand it within this market. One of the things that you and I have talked about often is how many companies really don't understand the cultural dynamics that exist here, that are changing very rapidly, the global context and culture that needs to be considered here in Kenya, which you have a keen knowledge of and have been able to help companies migrate that, and that's part of our mission. Speak to how culture combined with kind of storytelling is so powerful in this digital world, and how we're going to help companies, accomplish that mission in a very thoughtful way.
Well, I can actually start that off by alluding to some mistakes that I even made, even being Kenyan-born, right?
Okay.
When I came here, for those of us in the West, not that it's something that's wrong, but we have a very go, go, go individualistic kind of mentality, right? And so one thing that a lot of brands or individuals who have, their companies that want to launch into this market, as you alluded to, cultural context is important.
Right.
So whereas we're individualistic in the West, we have a more collectivist mindset here in Kenya. So even your brand and your messaging should speak to those cultural nuances. Otherwise, you'll be speaking a different language than your target market. People who might seek our services may already have existing brands, right? They're not going to be starting their brands from scratch. So they'll come to us for our services, and maybe we'll help them identify how to localize their brand if they're trying to sell specifically into Kenya, or we can look at a regional voice that they might want to use if they want to sell to East Africa in general. But hopefully we'll have that level of consultancy where we can identify and help a client penetrate the African market, because each country is going to have its own cultural context, cultural language, even for branding. Colors that might mean something in the US can mean something completely different.
Correct.
Words
Wow.
can mean something different. So something that is an amazing idea in the US as a brand name might actually be quite offensive in the local language and dialect. So we hope to be able to identify who your audience is, and then help you craft your messaging, your branding. And even when you're getting ready to go to market, do your experiential in a language and in a way that resonates with your core audience, which is now going to be your African audience.
That's great, man. That's great. One of the things I'm really excited about is not just through our partnership, our ability to design a brand strategy. It's our ability to execute it using multiple mediums. One of them being video, one being the social, the digital market in terms of sharing short videos, long videos, understanding how to get people's attention in the world where everybody's on their phone and they're overstimulated in some way. A way to brand you and get people to pay attention and identify your brand properly so that you can grow it, whether it be a service or a product, so that your product is differentiated in a way that's thoughtful, that it has context and it has meaning. And so when we say storytelling, it is a story. People buy based on not only quality of service and price, they buy on purpose as well, what it means to them. And one of the things I think that is very unique and I found very powerful in our conversation, is your ability to conceptualize creative ways to brand people's experience. Where did you get that gift from? Because to me, that's an artistic gift. And when you see people hear creative director, they may not necessarily in the corporate sense really understand the power of that. But there is a artistic ability that's required to translate something from a business language to something that moves people to buy or to trust. Where did you get that gift? How did that get developed, man? I mean,
Well, actually, it's something that you just said that kind of resonates. If I go back to my days as a sales rep, and even after that, I didn't go into it, but I was involved in network marketing for a brief time. And whether or not you like it, you disagree with the business model, there were a few things that I learned in that space. And one of them was facts tell and stories sell.
right,
Right. And when I heard that, it really resonated with me, because if you look at all the things that we maybe remember from our childhood,
right,
brands that we resonate with, individuals. For me, I was a huge Michael Jordan fan. So if I look back at how not only he as a basketball player, but as a brand kind of captured me, it was in the storytelling that Nike did. Right?
Yes.
Remember the Mars Blackman
Yeah, yeah.
commercials, it's gotta be the shoes, it's gotta be the shoes. And I think being a first generation Kenyan American, being born here and raised there, I was always very sensitive to stories and movies and film. And we used to consume that a lot as a family. So I think I fell in love with the medium of storytelling, whether that's in film. Later on, I became quite the avid photographer, and something that I still to this day use in how I direct my movies and videos, my short films, so to speak. So to your question, I think I've always just been in love with imagery.
right.
Yeah. And it started, as soon as we got to the US, one of my first memories being there is we watched a show inside of a bathroom of a hotel. And this was like in '85. And I think that in those days when we were in Kenya, there was maybe like one or two TV stations. So growing up in the States, I was just inundated with so much branding and imaging that we don't really understand how it goes down in the US versus here. I think those experiences and just the environment really, really resonated with me. And I used to pick up anything that had imagery. So GQ magazine, just wanting to dress a certain way. I believe that once you identify what really speaks to you in terms of storytelling, if you're passionate about it, it will start to manifest itself in different areas of your life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. So Nathan, I know, I've been here for about 4 months. I came here with a big vision of extending my company strategy here in Kenya. Not only did I come for personal reasons, I came here for business reasons. And we both understand the power of storytelling and branding. And you have a very unique perspective, given that you've lived in the U.S., you understand Kenya, you're Kenyan-born, you have a talent and a background in cultivating messages that are powerful, that differentiate companies from where they are. You've helped me immensely. That's formed the foundation of not only our brotherhood and our friendship, but what we're going to do in business, right? So I'm just curious, just from that perspective, a lot of people are coming and know that Africa, specifically Eastern Africa, is the jewel of Africa right now. And you look at the UN, you look at the number of multicultural interests in this country, the opportunities are explosive. People will be coming, right? Give them some tips on some things that people need to consider. People like me, you've helped me with many things, cultural understandings and process. You helped me put on, by the way, a world-class launch for 2 ventures, both via Localize and Nairobi Accelerator, which, by the way, just for commentary, after I looked at the video we captured, I was like, was that the event we just threw? It looked like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
It didn't look like just their event. I was like, was I at that event, Nathan? It was powerful, and it had an impact beyond, even what I expected. I knew it was going to be great, but it was even more impactful. Why don't you share some tips for people who are interested in coming either here to Kenya or Kenyan-based businesses that are looking to expand both in the U.S.? Provide some of the tips from your perspective on how important storytelling will be and some considerations.
Well, thank you for that. I think the first thing I would say is leave your ego back wherever you're from. Because I made the mistake of thinking because I was Kenyan-born that I was going to come with some level of understanding of the culture, but I found out that I'm very distinctly Kenyan-American, right? So even in my mores, my attitude, the manner in which I go about doing things, being very, let's get it done, let's get it done, let's get it done, whereas things here operate more on a relational level. You know, relationships really matter. You might not get a deal done in your first, second, or third, even fifth meetings. I used to laugh and say people here love to have meetings. And for me, it was a little bit of cultural hubris because what I wasn't really understanding is things are really based on relationships. So although we're talking about things marketing, I think the cultural nuances are really, really, really important. Right. And one way that you can get over that or at least accelerate the learning curve is to involve local Kenyans in the industry that you're trying to penetrate. Because we have a way of thinking that because of the West, and let's say the US, particular to you and myself, right. We first world, we know everything. We've been doing branding since branding was been branding, that kind of attitude. And you'll come here and you will crash and burn if you don't learn the market, don't learn the audience that you're speaking to, don't learn that symbols that really resonate with the market in the US might mean something completely different, right? Branding is building equity in your product or service, right? And that's different than marketing, which is like how you bring people to that product or service. So in a nutshell, I think just doing the right amount of market study, finding out if you have a good product market fit, and then involving local talent to localize your messaging and even your brand identity will set you up to win faster than if you come with a one size fits all mentality that we often do as Western people, right? First world or whatever. And if we're trying to win in the African market, it's just going to take some humility and working with people who understand the ground game, and then maybe using your learnings or your expertise based on experience and accelerating that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I echo that. I think that's one of the things you and I talked about. Day one, I partner with you. Hey, I need to learn this market. I need to integrate with the local culture. I need to understand what it means. And I've lived multiple places, both not only here in Kenya, when I was in South America, when I was in Dominican Republic, and other places I've traveled. And that has been a fatal flaw of many people who try to integrate into other cultures, particularly from the West. We come with the perspective that we have a certain level of command, knowledge, or experience, and we don't consider the local culture. And it's been a downfall to many companies. And that's why what you're doing and the talent you have is so valuable here, is really understanding the business model of the West with the cultural dynamics here in the local market. And the truth of the matter is everyone knows who is in the know that the future business opportunity, the growing economy in terms of population growth of youth, the emerging talent level is here in Africa, specifically here in Kenya. It's scientifically proven. You can look at all the statistics and demographics and growth and education and health and natural resources. The data's there. So I just really, the message that you're saying, I hope people really understand how important it is, because you can spend a lot of money making a lot of mistakes and not be effective here in this market. Right. And the reality of it is, globally, coming here to Kenya, being successful and expanding throughout Africa could be a very powerful strategy for many organizations. And as you and we were talking to some high-level business professionals here in Dubai. They understand that They're partnering with the locals. They have relationships with the locals. They're deep. They spent a lot of time here. They live here half the year, and they're making tremendous progress, basically following a very similar model that you're kind of communicating. So
Yes.
some people understand it. Likewise, we know some people who are spending a lot of money who are not having that level of success
Yes.
in this market. So what you're talking about. So just generally, if you had to share with our audience a little bit about why Kenya. I mean, you know, hey man, Berkeley's nice. I've been to Berkeley. It's absolutely beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, UCLA, LA is nice.
Yes.
Nathan, why are you back in Kenya, man? I mean, you lived in some of the most beautiful places in the world in the U.S. You know, you're here and you're happy. What is it about the combination of lifestyle and business opportunity at Kenya that makes it special to you?
Well, Tim, I kind of have unfair advantage just by the fact of my lineage being Kenyan. So part of coming home was really doing more of a deep dive into who I am, because living in the States and the time at which we left to go to the U.S., there weren't many Kenyans around.
Right.
So most of the culture that I was getting was from my immediate family, right? And coming here in 2017 as part of a family trip, and it had been 22 years
Wow.
since we had been here before, around 95, my freshman year at UCLA. And there was just something that resonated with me so profoundly. It was like you said, and a lot of people say it, there was a spiritual,
Wow.
like realignment. I remember taking a walk on Diani Beach, and it just felt like something I'd never felt before, right? The peace. And to be quite honest, and not to be hyperbolic, I think if I would have stayed in the US, my lifespan would have been a little bit shorter.
Wow.
People don't understand the level of stress and the level of, just stress that living in that pressurized environment of the US is. And not saying that you won't have other stresses coming to Kenya. It's not all milk and honey the way that we sell the rest of the world, right? But to your point, I felt like I needed to be here. I wanted to experience more of my culture, learn more about myself. And then opportunity-wise, right? When you come here, we have this tendency of seeing everything that can be done better and faster, the way that a lot of people look at, business opportunities. But for me, I wanted to be part of a shift that I felt like was happening globally for people from the Black diaspora. I know our audience can be very varied, but I can only speak to my, my point of view. And I felt like Kenya was poised to be the next kind of Singapore, Thailand, whatever. If you've traveled globally, people look at the growth curve of Kenya, and they know that we are in the sweet spot of actual tremendous growth opportunities, real estate sector, FCMG companies. A lot of those things are at the beginning of the wave.
Right.
And for most people, they feel like, okay, if you're not paying attention to Africa right now as a continent, and maybe for us specifically, Kenya in specific, like Kenya directly, we don't want to miss that wave.
No.
Right? But to the general point of this conversation, if you don't do your research, if you think it's a gold rush and you come here with the wrong tools, right? If you don't involve locals and just try to exploit the resources and the movement going on here and not integrate, the local community, especially the youth population here, you can really make some mistakes that if you would have researched more, understood what the movement is, a lot like what you're doing with the accelerator, then you'd be better positioned to take advantage. But we can't look at Kenya economically without wanting to also benefit from the culture and the people that are around, right? And that's something that I really am mindful of.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I tell many of my friends back in the West, in the U.S., is that, Africa is going to explode with or without you.
True.
It doesn't need you
True.
to grow. It's growing without you. It's leading in technology. It's leading in renewable energy. It's leading in youth. I think population wise, I think about 70 or 75% of the population is below the age of 35?
Yes, yes.
Somewhere in, I don't know the exact statistics, but something close. It's an educated community. It's entrepreneurial in nature. The weather, the natural resources are here. So all the indicators are here. And so if you're looking for opportunity, they're here. Not only the lifestyle, okay? I can tell you the quality of life here in Africa matches anywhere. If you happen to be a person that of means,
Right. That's key. That's key.
your life is great. Now, the reality is being poor anywhere in the world, it's not good.
Right.
So you have to compare apples to apples. If I was a poor person living in a place that's really cold and you don't have shelter, it is a very dangerous place to live, okay? Being poor here in Kenya, I mean, may not be uncomfortable, but you won't die overnight because it's too cold.
Right.
So there's levels to this, right? So I think it's explosive opportunity, man. And I just want to thank you as a friend, as a brother. Your partnership, the way you've opened your arms here for me here in Kenya has been just beautiful on the human level. On the business side, I have a great deal of respect for you and your talent. I mean, just what I've learned through my affiliation and conversations with you has enriched me as a human being. Not only in the business side, but on the personal side, man, I'm excited about the journey of what we're going to do and offer to people who are coming here in the diaspora, and specifically Kenya.
Well, Tim, I want to say that you being here and laying the roots that you have with Villa Kali, the Nairobi Accelerator, you are the manifestation of something that personally I've been talking about since I came back in 2017. Having grown up around primarily African-American friends, and even seeing what's happening in Ghana with the Year of the Return, you represent, I guess, the manifestation of, Marcus Garvey, people coming back to the home, motherland, promised land, Eden. Everyone has all these hyperbolic, things that they say about coming back. But what's impressive about what you're doing is you're actually putting resources and your money where your mouth is. Yeah, and Villa Kali, Nairobi Accelerator, is testament to that, right?
Yeah, appreciate it.
And so with people who will be exposed to yourself and your podcast,
right,
those businesses, those individuals who see the opportunity in Kenya and in Africa, they'll be able to come and get, their HR staffing needs and their team building done through MindFinders and your expertise there. Mm-hmm. And then if they want to now open a company, but they need help in branding, in their storytelling, right, in understanding cultural context, in building their own world-class team, because you might have HR staffing that you do on an executive level,
right,
but we'll be able to help companies even form their creative teams.
Correct.
Right? The people who are helping us put this podcast together, they're very talented individuals, and you'll need to align yourself and engage them, as opposed to what a lot of companies do here is they outsource those services, those creative services, to Dubai and South Africa.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And the problem is, yes, they have, first world, maybe standards, but a lot of the companies, believe it or not, and a lot of people who live in Kenya, they'll see that great many South African companies have come here, and not saying anything about those companies in particular, but they fail. Why? Because they don't necessarily understand the Kenyan market.
Yeah.
Right? They have this hubris that what works in South Africa is going to work in Kenya.
Right.
What works in Dubai is going to work in Kenya, and it doesn't. So through this partnership with my services and Villa Kali and MindFinders, we will be able to better position companies to avoid those mistakes, understand what market they're trying to penetrate, and then go ahead and dealing with their brand identity, their activations, their events, all of those creative services, we'll be able to supply them that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, hey, thank you for those kind words. I appreciate them. But this is the reality of the market today in the world we live in, this digital world, that the amount of money you spend is not a direct result of the impact that you have given the tools we have today. Having an effective team that can convert your vision, your brand to something that moves people in the markets that you want to serve is critical. Lots of companies in the old days would just spend a lot of money on ads, billboards, right? And they would basically outspend the nearest competitor just by volume. That strategy doesn't work. You have small brands that have a strong Instagram following, a strong YouTube following, that are selling products at record numbers that large companies are failing at spending money on commercials. The market dynamics have changed. So the things we're talking about today are powerful. And what I love about being here, as opposed to the West, sometimes in the West, we solve problems through brute force. We spend money. We're going to outspend, we're bigger, we're stronger, and we're going to put more resources behind that solution, and we're going to beat you through force. In the digital world, you need to be thoughtful and have a strategy that's intelligent. You don't win through force. You win through effectiveness, through execution, through strategy, through creativity, by differentiating yourselves from everyone else. And what I love here is that people have that creative energy, the entrepreneur spirit. They look through a different lens when they solve the problem, because they don't just throw money at it. They solve it in a very thoughtful and sensitive way. And that's why doing this, offering this service based out of Kenya is the right choice for me and us. Brute force no longer wins.
Well said. Well said.
So thank you for coming. Man, I appreciate you as a brother, and I loved you as a friend.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for staying to the end. If you can like, subscribe, leave any comments, we really appreciate you joining us. And stay tuned to Life by Design with Tim Booker for more content like this. Thank you.